President Joe Biden willfully retained classified information, according to a scathing report from special counsel Robert Hur, but the president will not face criminal charges. The report says prosecutors would not be able to prove, they don't think, that Biden intended to break the law. But the reason behind that is interesting. The report also contains a concerning assessment of President Biden's faculties and his memory. Investigators finding his, quote, memory was significantly limited in interviews they conducted. They concluded it would be difficult to get a jury to convict a, quote, sympathetic, well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, unquote. And this from the report: Biden did not remember when he was vice president, forgetting on the first day of the interview when his term ended. Quote, if it was 2013, when did I stop being vice president? Unquote. And forgetting on the second day of the interview when his term began. Quote, in 2009, am I still vice president? Unquote. He did not remember, even within several years, the report says, when his son Beau died. It was May 2.
It's like watching James Comey all over again, man. If you guys remember what happened with James Comey and Hillary Clinton, we basically had James Comey do an end run around federal prosecutors in order to protect Hillary Clinton, alleged criminal Hillary Clinton. Now, we have federal prosecutors doing an end run around a jury in another attempt to protect an alleged criminal Democrat from accountability. And I feel like it's not even necessary to use the word alleged anymore. The special counsel lays it all out, whether Joe Biden will admit it or not. The special counsel says that Joe Biden did indeed commit crimes, but he doesn't think that anyone would convict such a feeble old man with such a bad memory, as if that's his decision to make. But forget the 14th Amendment, man. I think we need a new rule. If you are not mentally capable of standing trial for your crimes, then you can't be president, man. It is that simple.
I'm sure there are Democratic voters out there. We know polls already think that a majority of Democrats, not just voters in general, but Democrats are concerned President Biden is too old to be president. I'm sure some of them today are looking at these news reports and saying, this guy might have been a great president, but he should not be the nominee. What do you say to that?
Well, look, I mean, there's some editorializing in this report about Biden's memory. And I think if you think about what it takes to sit down for one of these interviews and asked to recall information, dates, specifics about things that happened 6, 7, 8 years earlier.
To not know what year you're vice president?
He's got a lot on his plate. He's working on a lot of different things. As he himself said, these interviews happened the day after the attack in Israel, so he had been consumed with dealing with that. I think.
Let me know in the comments. Can you imagine having so much going on that you don't remember the second job you had in your whole life, right? And to this lady's point, just think about what she just said. This interview was during the days immediately after the October 7 attack. So this is what we had handling American interest and American response to the worst terror attack since 9/11. A guy who could not remember the dates he was vice president, couldn't remember the date his son passed away, even the year. Remember, this is a death that he has never, ever, ever missed an opportunity to exploit. So you'd think he'd remember verbatim, but he's probably confused himself lying about him dying in Iraq so many times. But this is what we had working for us as we inch closer to a war with Iran. A guy who answered questions so pathetically that he couldn't even be expected to stand trial for the crime.
Anybody sitting down for an interview like that where you're being asked specific dates over and over again, you're not going to remember every single one. So there's some editorializing in the report about his memory. But I think let's look at what the report actually says, which is, this was a year-long investigation, 7 million documents, hundreds of witnesses, and no charges recommended. I mean, I think the special counsel here did probably the most detailed and involved investigation that you could do of this situation, looked for every opportunity to say that Joe Biden had acted in a way that deserved charges and didn't find that. So the other clear thing that we see in this report is the distinction between Joe Biden's case and Donald Trump's case, where you have the special counsel saying Donald Trump intentionally obstructed justice. Joe Biden said, take whatever you need, look at whatever you want. I'm a totally open book on this.
I'm a totally open book. I just can't remember anything that you're asking me. Other than not remembering, I'm a totally open book. And just listen to these propagandists, man. The special counsel did not say he found no need for charges. He said the exact opposite. He said, yes, he definitely did it. I just don't think a jury would convict the sweet, stupid old guy.
This is a particularly bad week for this report and its comments about President Biden's faculties and his memory to come out, because twice this week he has acted as if he, in 2021, spoke to European leaders who have been dead for years. Once he confused Francois Mitterrand, who died in 1996, with Emmanuel Macron, who is still very much alive. And another time he was referring to Angela Merkel, until recently the Chancellor of Germany, and referred to Helmut Kohl, who I think died in 2017. So this memory issue is already out there.
But I want to know how many voters in Michigan, Wisconsin, you think know the difference between Kohl
they don't
and,
know, but they
Merkel,
know when
or
somebody
are going to cast their vote. Well, you asked.
Sorry, okay.
Or are going to cast their vote for president based on whether someone is naming Emmanuel Macron or Francois Mitterrand, whose name they probably don't even know.
But it's not about that. It's about faculty and memory, and whether or not somebody they perceive is competent. You saw the poll in NBC News that had like Donald Trump as something like 48% perceive him to be competent, and like 32% perceived President Biden. I'm not saying that that's accurate, but that's the perception.
Yeah, that's about all I can stomach of that. But hard to believe these people are serious. I mean, she basically just said that Americans are stupid. And if you have any doubt that they believe we're stupid, you shouldn't. She says Americans are stupid because we've never heard of any of these people and we're not going to care. And good job on Jake Tapper for reminding her that that is not at all the point. The point is the man just got let off the hook for crimes because he couldn't remember committing them, which really doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. I mean, all this talk about whether he did or did not do it willfully. Guys, look at the statutes. Classified documents, they're one of the few things in all of our criminal justice code, all 23,000 pages, that make no exceptions and no presumptions based on your intent. Whether you meant to doesn't matter. You either did or did not break the law. It is that simple. But let's take a look at this deal question by question. I'm going to show you the press conference. I'm going to skip most of Lame's speech because all it really was, after 45 minutes of me fantasizing that he was going to come out and do the right thing and step down, all it was him finding new ways to say I didn't do it and new ways to say Trump's bad. But listen to some of this stuff.
There's even reference that I don't remember when my son died. How in the hell dare he raise that? Frankly, when I was asked the question, I thought to myself, it wasn't any of their damn business. Let me tell you something. Some of you have commented, I wear since the day he died, every single day, the rosary he got from Our Lady of every memorial.
That was the longest, most uncomfortable pause that you're probably ever going to see. Really, really bad timing for the brain right there. But guys, let me know in the comments. I'm getting real tired of this outraged old man act. I mean, how dare they bring that up? Yes, man, they dare bring that up. It's important. It's all very important. But he says, how dare they bring it up? Of course I remember. I've worn this rosary every day since that day. I just can't remember what day it was, what year it was. Can't even remember what saint I'm even talking about attached to this rosary. You know, obviously that was not scripted. But like I said, you know, he cannot miss an opportunity to exploit the death of his son. You know, and old habits die hard, man. He's literally giving a press conference to assure the American people his brain still functions, and he does that.
President Biden, something the special counsel said in his report is that one of the reasons you were not charged is because, in his description, you are a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory.
I'm well-meaning, and I'm an elderly man, and I know what the hell I'm doing. I've been president. I put this country back on its feet. I don't need his recommendation. It's totally
How bad is your memory, and can you continue as president?
My memory is so bad I let you speak. That's what
memory has gone.
So I had to switch over to Fox here because CNN doesn't show the press corps. But just look at Ducey's face right there. This is not a laughing or joking matter. I mean, what does that even mean? Just answer the question. Be honest for once in your pathetic career.
Mr. President.
Voters have concerns about your age. How are you going to assuage them? And do you fear that this report is only going to fuel further concerns about your age?
only by some of you.
Mr. President.
Will this fuel concern about your age was the question. And the president's answer was only by some of you. And the translation, if you need a translation, if you don't speak Joe Biden or Democrat, what he's saying is there are a few people in that room who do not do as they're told. The rest of you, you just stick to ice cream and grandkids and everything's going to work out just fine. Just don't bring up the most recent grandkid if you can help it.
Take responsibility for at least being careless with classified material.
I take responsibility for not having seen exactly what my staff was doing. It goes in and points out things that appeared in my garage, things that came out of my home, things that were moved not by me, but my staff.
Translation, if you need it again. I didn't do it, Jack.
For months when you were asked about your age, you would respond with the words, watch me. Many American people have been watching and they have expressed concerns about your age.
That is your judgment. That is your judgment. That is not the judgment of the press.
They express concerns about your mental acuity. They say that you are too old. Mr. President, in December, you told me that you believe there are many other Democrats who could defeat Donald Trump. So why does it have to be you now? What is your answer to that question?
Because I'm the most qualified person in this country to be President of the United States and finish the job I started.
Translation, we are completely and totally effed.
When you look back at this incident, is there anything you would do differently now? And do you think that a special prosecutor should have been appointed in the first place in both of these cases?
First of all, what I would have done is oversee the transfer of the material that was in my office, in my offices. I should have done that. If I go back, I didn't have the responsibility to that. That was my staff was supposed to do that, and they referenced that in the report. And my staff did not do it in the way that, for example, I didn't know how half the boxes got in my garage until I found out staff gathered them up, put them together, and took them to the garage in my home. And all the stuff that was in my home was in filing cabinets that were either locked or able to be locked. It was in my house. It wasn't out in, like in Mar-a-Lago, in a public place where, and none of it was high classified. Didn't have any of that red stuff on it. You know what I mean, around the corners? None of that. And so I wish I had paid more attention to how the documents were being moved and where. I thought they were being moved to the archives. I thought all of it was being moved. That's what I thought. Now, what was the last part of your question?
Whether a special counsel should have been appointed in this case and in the case of your rival president, former president.
I think a special counsel should have been appointed. And the reason I think a special counsel should have been appointed is because I did not want to be in a position that they looked at Trump and weren't going to look at me, just like they looked at the vice president. And the fact is they made a firm conclusion. I did not break the law, period. Thank you all very, very much.
Translation, I told you I didn't do it, Jack. And be honest here, let me know in the comments. Classified documents in the garage of a home shared with a world-renowned Eastern European energy executive, or at Mar-a-Lago guarded by the freaking Secret Service. Seems like a pretty clear choice. I don't know, I'm a little biased, I guess, but as far as Joe not wanting to look like the justice system isn't fair, he literally just got let off because he's a senile old man that no one would believe or convict. And he's taking a victory lap about it. This truly is insane. I mean, these people are serious, man. I'm not sure what the point of this exercise was. I don't think that it achieved its goal, whatever its goal was. I hope that it didn't achieve it because it didn't hit. It didn't hit the landing. But, just think about what a shit show that entire day was, right? Supreme Court having to listen to completely unprepared and unconvincing Colorado lawyers in a case that is literally the example, the definition of election interference by a party that will tell you that they are the last hope for the future of elections. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. And then this, your president is a criminal, but he's too old and too sad and too pathetic to ever be convicted. So we're gonna let him slide. Apparently trials are real tough, but being president apparently is easy. So we're just gonna leave him where he's at. But that's amazing stuff, man. I mean, you go through so much of this stuff and eventually you just don't even know quite what to say, man. But that's just my take, guys. Let me know yours in the comments. And if you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.